I don't know what's going on.
We are still having some problems here. So while Hillary is working on getting us onto the right draft of the slides, let me continue to introduce our board members. Rob Norton is Rob and his wife Nancy and their 2 adult children have been associated with Feline Rescue since adopting Harley 16 years ago. And if we can get the picture, it will be Rob and his wife with Harley on the right and Bruno on the left. He served on the board of Feline Rescue since 2019. Rob's 35 years in philanthropy for nonprofits, individuals, and private foundations have provided him with a broad and deep practical and technical knowledge of the field. Both Bruno and Harley were bottle babies, originally fostered by a former board member, Michelle Guillen. Ty Paulson has been involved with Feline Rescue for nearly a decade. She began as a shelter caregiver and then was a shift lead for the Friday afternoon shift for 2 years. She joined the Feline Rescue Board in November of 2023. She's worked in nonprofit fundraising for several years and is currently the development director at Friends School in Friends School of Minnesota, excuse me. She has 2 cat companions, Kevin and Big Mike. Chuck Seltzer has been a board member for about 10 years. He learned of Feline Rescue from a Sunday newspaper article and stopped by periodically to cuddle with cats. He's adopted 2 cats from Feline Rescue and is currently owned by Clayton, who is 9 years old. During the day, Chuck is a CPA, an ethics instructor, and is currently the chair of the Minnesota Board of Accounting. And our final board member, Wally Reinhardt. Wally joined the board of directors in October of 2023. He's retired from 3M Global Engineering and has been a Feline Rescue donor for 15 years. He's been part of the organization since 2020, and he and his wife, Mary Lynn, are pet parents to their tuxedo, appropriately named Tuxie. I'm going to turn the presentation over to Kate King, our executive director. And so, Kate, if you want to take it away.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I will be talking about fundraising. I don't have a picture of my cat. I've been owned by exactly 1 cat, a very old 19-year-old who passed away 3 years ago, and the cat distribution system has not gotten back to me yet. Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk to you today about fundraising. Currently, we have individual giving is our biggest way that we are supported. This comes in through a variety of ways, but it's individual giving. So one-time or recurring donations, they can be given online, in person, through the mail, events, and campaigns is our biggest one. So up here, we've got our 3 most recent campaigns. The 2023 Pfeiffer Perfect Match, shout out to Sharon Pfeiffer for providing that $15,000 match for that. We raised over $70,000 last year during that match. And if you remember the flyer that came in the mail when we sent out the initial letter, everything on that flyer is able to be purchased for Feline Rescue as a result. So that's really exciting. Following that event, excuse me, we had Give to the Max Day. Our goal for that one was 50,000. We came in super close there at almost 46,000, which was another really exciting campaign. And then currently we are running our 2024 Spring into Action campaign. That is another matching gift campaign from Sharon Pfeiffer. And currently we are at over $51,000 raised. And we still have a little bit of time left in that matching gift campaign. If you'll remember that letter, we heard about Biff and Sally, who were in the presentation a little earlier. They are still available for adoption. We have a few new ways for you to give. You can find the forms, they'll be online soon, but Qualified Charitable Distributions now has a nice form to go with it to help you through that process. And also there's a new gift of stock transfer form that will be available online as well to help you and your financial advisor plan for those two gifts, which can be very beneficial for feline rescue. And finally, we have a new handout on bequests. This will give example language for you to bring to your attorney or your financial advisor to help with different language for your will, because bequests are a major way to support feline rescue. In 2023, we had over $53,000 in bequests. And currently this year, we are at over $131,000 already. So this is a great opportunity for you to leave a legacy. You can always send me an email at kate.king@felinerescue.org, and we can have a conversation about this. It's a really beautiful way for donors to partner with us for the long term. That was a really quick overview of our finances, not our finances, but our individual giving. I know that we're on a time schedule here, so I'm going to pass it over to Director of Operations, Sarah Post. But if you have any questions about donations, please do not hesitate to reach out to me.
Good morning. Thank you, Kate. I wanted to start off by highlighting just some of our stats over the last year and then this year's year to date. So first off, the left column is our total intakes for the year for last year, 2023, and then we're at 235 so far for this year as of about a week ago. Overall, we're a little bit behind our numbers last year, but there are a number of reasons for that I will get into in some of the next slides. For adoptions, we have the totals for last year as well, and then our year to date for this year, again, being a little bit behind, but you can see that we're sort of matching our intakes closely with the number of adoptions, which is a smart way of making sure that we're taking in the right amount of cats. And then these numbers are the length of stay. So that's the total number of days from intake to outcome for the cats are the totals for the year 2023, and then where we're at this year so far through 2024. And you can see that we're actually a bit down our length of stay compared to last year, which is another good strategy, trying to reduce the length of stay so our cats don't have to stay in our care quite as long, and we can make room for more cats. All right, and next up, I just wanted to talk about some of the challenge areas we've been facing and some of the reasons behind why we might be seeing a little bit lower intake so far this year and for part of last year. One significant challenge area we are working on right now is with our foster program. Just collectively, we've identified some issues, and we've also gotten quite a bit of feedback from our fosters, and we're kind of addressing the challenges that we're finding there. We have quite a bit of problems finding fosters right now. Most of the cats we place in foster have a high level of like medical needs or behavior needs, and finding fosters who are able to take in those types of cats can be a little bit challenging. Coordinating placements and pickups is another area that we're trying to refine and make a bit more efficient. Communication, we've also got a lot of feedback from our fosters on we just have too many points of contact and it becomes confusing. So we're working on creating some efficiencies there. For intake, it's just a difficult balance trying to make sure that we have the resources to take in the cats, trying to keep the shelter full, while also addressing the high level of medical needs cats we have in foster. Our vet services team has been quite overworked and burnt out over the last year. We have a limited surgery capacity, and both of those things are making it difficult to take in more cats. We've had a number of staffing changeovers that have contributed to that. And then lastly, we have our community outreach and services program, which simply just doesn't get enough attention right now because we are focusing on the cats that are in shelter and foster right now. But hopefully we can kind of ramp up that program in the coming year. And then I wanted to talk about some of our strategies that we're going to use over the next year to address all these challenges from the previous slides there. So we're looking at adding some support positions, both volunteer and staff, hoping to hire a second veterinarian either later this year or next year. One primary focus I've been working on recently is updating our policies, protocols, and position descriptions, which we have been greatly lacking. So some of them just don't exist that I'm writing from scratch, and some of them are just outdated. But once those are in place, that will help in all other areas of our programs. And we're going to work on revamping the foster program, working on updating the resources website. We want a better and more clear division of responsibilities for everybody who's involved in foster cats and foster placements. We want to develop and offer specialized training so we can help our fosters build those skills to, take in those medical needs cats or, pregnant moms or kittens. We want to be able to help them with that. And then we want to hopefully implement a foster mentor program so that we can take some of the burden off of our staff and pass that on to our foster mentors so they can build skills and then subsequently help our fosters build more skills. We're going to look at increasing our surgery capacity and just vet services capacity overall by working on some protocols. And again, like I mentioned before, hiring an additional veterinarian and other additional vet staff if needed. And lastly, we were very fortunate to be accepted into the Maddie's Million Pet Challenge shelter consultation. So over the next several months, we're going to be working with two professionals, one from, I believe, the San Diego Humane Society and another from the University of Florida Shelter Medicine Program. They're going to be helping us, develop those policies, figure out where we're seeing bottlenecks and inefficiencies, and they're even going to come on site for an extended period of time later this year to help with all that in person. And from here, I will.
We are running ahead of schedule now. So if anybody has any questions about what Kate talked about or what Sarah has talked about, you're welcome to raise your hand or unmute or drop a question in the chat.
There's something in the chat, but maybe it's
No,
you.
it's me.
Doesn't look like anyone's.
No questions? All right, then we will go ahead to Lisa. Let's just look at Miss Missy.
Right. Yeah, Missy is available for adoption. Yes, hi, this is Lisa Goddard. I'm the treasurer, and you may remember last year I talked a lot about all the different terms that we kind of used in Feline Rescue's financial discussions. And this year I'm not going to go through all that stuff. I'm going to go through the numbers and talk about our financial monitoring and what we do to try to make sure we're staying on track. And so we have the finance committee that meets monthly to review reports. We do month end and year to date checks of the monthly transactions, budgets versus actuals, and our what our financial position is with our investments and our expenses. And then speaking of investments, we have an investment committee that meets quarterly, more or less quarterly, to review our investment account status and to develop or to make recommendations for the risk profiles that the different investments should have in terms of how quickly we might need to access the money. And we have, investment accounts that target medical needs or target outreach. And then we have just more general operating accounts as well. And then finally, we have an audit committee that meets as needed, primarily in the beginning of the year and then towards the end of the year, to engage a certified public accounting firm to perform that yearly audit. And currently we have Clifton Larson Allen as our auditor for the 2023 fiscal year. Okay. And then I just want to point out that these are unaudited numbers, so they're still working on that. We should be getting those later this year. But you can see in our assets, our current bank accounts and other current assets, about 241,000. Our investments are just over 1.4 million. And our property and equipment is just under 880,000. So our total assets are 2.5 million. One of the things I'll say about the investments, a little less than last year, but part of that is because we've actually been pulling some of the earnings from the investments and putting them to use. So we're not just keeping them there and ignoring them forever, but when we need to access them or when it makes sense to access them, and we use the money for the right purpose. If the investment was dedicated to medical, then it goes to medical. Anyway, so liabilities, you see we have accounts payable and other current liabilities at 60,000. Our total equity is 2.47 million. And so our total liabilities and equity is that 2.5 million. Next slide, please. Oh, I guess I was going to say just one thing, and partly it's about the investments. I can give you just a percentage, I guess, how much lower we are below the 2022 year-end numbers. It's about 6% lower. And then we've got Neville. Okay, and so now our unaudited numbers, statement of activities through the end of December 2023. Our earned program revenue is 116,000. And that is basically adoptions less returns. And this is less than last year. And I'm sorry, this is a little bit less than 2022. And I just want to say that this trend is continuing this year. As Sarah talked about, we've had some challenges in keeping our shelter full and keeping our foster program as strong as what we would like. And a lot of that has to do with how just how sick the cats are that we're getting. And we just don't have the capacity to take on all that. So, but however, on the other side of it is our direct public support was 714,000 last year. And we've seen that jump up significantly compared to 2022 and even 2023. So this year going forward, we're seeing that even more so. Other types of revenue, 48,000, and then gross revenue, 878,000. And then going to expenses, here's where, so 2023 numbers unaudited, wages and benefits, 531,000, contracted services. So that's like our CPA. We had to have an interim executive director last year for the time between when Bill left and when Kate started, and some of those kinds of things. So that was 121,000. Cat care expenses, including food, all sorts of medical, et cetera. That was 200, just under 290,000. And then facilities, operations, and other expenses are 236,000. So total expenditures are just under 1.2 million. And our net operating revenue for 2023 was negative 300,000, just under, with when you balance or bring in the unrealized gains that we had, then the net revenue is 167,000. Okay, let's see, so cat care expenses were roughly 5% higher than 2022. And even just this first 4 months of 2024 it's quite a bit higher compared to 2023. So that's just kind of a heads up looking forward. We'll see those numbers even higher. And I think that is it for me this time around. But if you're looking for cats, these guys look awesome.
Oh, they're so cute. All right. Thank you. Whoops. Thank you, Lisa.
And I will turn it over to Julie now.
Nope, it's me.
Oh,
Me, and then I'll turn it over to Julie.
okay.
All right. So I want to talk about events, and I wanted to give you a little preview of our fun new merch that we have, merchandise for Pride. This Pride logo that we have is going to be on its stickers, correct? Yep, they're going to be on stickers at Pride next weekend. So, and we're going to have lots of awesome t-shirts available as well. New limited edition tees that you'll get to, you can actually preview them on our website. And when I'm done talking, I will grab the website and put it in the chat for you. All right. So, we are ramping things up this year. If you're interested in volunteering for an event, would like us to be at an event, or are interested in helping to plan events and fundraisers, I will drop a quick survey link into the chat for you to let us know that you're interested. We have a really great group of event volunteers, and we're always looking for more. So far this year, we participated in the Mission Palooza for our Mission Animal Hospitals, which was possibly the most beautiful day of the year to be outside. We participated in the AHS Walk for Animals that was probably the worst day to be outside for an event. And we did our annual Indeed We Can event in at the end of April. And we have a bunch more events coming up. So keep your eyes peeled on our website and social media for what's coming up. But this year we're super excited because it is our first year at Pride, and they have a whole animal area at Pride that is it is so much fun to be there for that. So, if you're visiting Pride next weekend, please stop by and say hi, because there will be plenty of us there. And then also new for this year, we're going to be participating in the Walk for Recovery at the state capitol in St. Paul. That is a great family event. It's they do a loop, there's a loop around the Capitol, and they have a whole bunch of exhibitors and vendors, and they have a whole little pet section where you can kind of relax and talk kitties and puppies and all the things. And then the same weekend, we will also be at Twin Cities Veg Fest. So thank you. And then I am going to turn things over to Julie.
Great. So, if you want to flip to the next one. All right. So, Sarah, And Noah Bateman, who's our volunteer coordinator, did a wonderful job coordinating the survey, administering it, and getting that out to us in April. We worked with George Mason University. The purpose really was to evaluate the effectiveness of our organization with our volunteers. We had 157 respondents, which was almost a 40% response rate. What does that mean? When we were working with George Mason, they said the average survey response is 10 to 20%. So thank you for everyone who took the time to respond. Almost 40% is a great rate. And so we were very pleased to see that data. When we developed the survey, what we asked you to do were to rate items from strongly disagree, which was a 1, to strongly agree, which was a 5. We also had some write-in comments, and we'll do a quick summary of those at the end. Go ahead. All right, so what was in the survey? What we wanted to do was measure our effectiveness as an organization in 4 key areas with our volunteers. One was our overall organization. The second one was the work you do. How do you feel about what you're doing here for us? Then relationships, because we all know that how we work together is incredibly important to our satisfaction and to how effective we are. And then finally, how is our overall volunteer program doing? How do you feel about it? So those were the 4 areas that we really wanted to measure. So as Hillary mentioned earlier, we're going to be posting this. So if you can't read everything or I'm moving too fast, you will have a chance to take a look at it. So the first thing we took a look at was organizational commitment. And I think if you've looked at Sarah's weekly emails, or if you've read Kate's executive director comments on our newsletter, one of the critical things that we're doing as we're making changes is we are committed to building on our mission and strengthening feline rescue. So everything we do is really focused on those 2 things. So this one was pretty important to us. So what we wanted to know is how you feel about feline rescue. So 94% of people said that they strongly agreed with the statement they enjoyed talking to people about feline rescue. And I think if you think back to when Hillary was introducing us all, that's how we found feline rescue for the most of us. And as you join the organization as a volunteer, you maybe heard someone talk about us, or maybe you came by and one of our volunteers at the shelter convinced you to come in and get a cat or to start volunteering. We also asked is if the organization has a great deal of personal meaning for me. 90% of people strongly agreed that feline rescue has a great deal of personal meaning. Those are really, really strong results. And what we took as we looked at that is people are feeling very positive about how they view the organization overall. So then we moved into asking about how you feel about, you can move on, how you feel about volunteering. So just from a recognition standpoint. And again, I think the first one is really important as we look at volunteering for feline rescue. So we asked about if you're feeling appreciated or being recognized. The results were above 70% with people agreeing or strongly agreeing with that statement. We also asked about if your contributions are recognized. And again, pretty strong response. We did, however, see about 20% of people who disagreed. And so as Kate takes over and talks about next steps, we'll be talking about some ways that we think we can strengthen those numbers. Now, this one is a big one. I think every time you do a survey, you're going to have people who think they're getting lots of communication and people who don't think they're getting any communication. And so what we wanted to do was really talk about how you're feeling about different types of communication that you're getting from us. So I would say overall, communication with volunteers was perceived to be pretty positive. One of the things we looked at was how well do you understand? the goals of feline rescue. What is it we're here to do and trying to accomplish? Over 80% of our respondents said, yeah, that's clear to me. I understand where we're going as an organization and what we're here to do. There is, however, room to improve with communicating of what's going on at Feline Rescue. And I think as we looked at those results, and I think both Kate and Sarah mentioned this, we've had a lot of change in the last 6 months. And so as things change in the organization, people may feel like they're not getting everything that they need to understand. And so again, as we look forward on ways that we can strengthen the organization, we'll be looking at ways to improve that. So then we asked about your satisfaction with the work you do. And again, we're asking you to give your time to the organization. So we all love cats, and coming in and playing with cats, that's pretty fun. But you also do lots of other things around the organization that makes it critical for us to be able to function. So understanding how you feel about the work you do is very important. So overall, again, I think what we saw was that people are very positive with their assignments being meaningful and taking pride in what they do was over 90%. Those are really, really strong results. I did surveys in my past life as an HR person, and I can tell you, if I delivered those results to an organization, people would be doing cartwheels. So 90% is excellent. There's also, we asked about if you enjoy your work. So again, what we saw was that 93% of people enjoy their work. So again, the playing with cats is pretty fun. Getting cuddle time with cats is fun. We also ask you to do other things. And so as we looked at these numbers, I think everybody feels pretty strong that the way we're doing assignments and the work you're doing is working well for our volunteers. So then moving on to, again, looking at, as I said, this is very important to us, is taking a look with how you contribute to the organization. And so what we ask is, do you feel like you can be productive? And do you feel like you are doing valuable work? And again, if you look at the numbers there for agree and strongly disagree, those are very, very high numbers. Are you able to get a lot of work done? Yes. Again, those numbers are high. And we're going to look in a minute at what could be affecting that roughly 21% who didn't agree with that statement or were neither agreeing or disagreeing. Doing something valuable for the organization, again, that is a number that we're really concerned about, and we're glad to see that it's positive because, again, we ask you to come in on your time off, on your weekends, on your evenings. So feeling like what you're doing is valuable for us, for the organization, is pretty important. So again, these are really good numbers. All right, so then we said, what's getting in your way of doing your job here when you get into to do your work? So in general, as you look at those results, this time the green bar, the dark green bar are these things getting in your way? And so if you see overall, the numbers are overall, again, pretty positive. One thing I wanted to specifically point out is supervisors got some pretty high ratings on this. Your supervisor is helping you get what you need and doing what you need. So thank you to all the people who are taking supervisory roles in the organization. What we saw as we looked at those, that there are areas that we can make some improvements and that we can focus on going forward. And those areas were training and clarifying instructions. And so Sarah mentioned that in her comments, and I think Kate will be talking a little bit more about those as we talk about our next steps.
Ooh.
I did like those numbers. We can go forward.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. There.
All right. So then we took a look at the write-in comments. You had a chance to tell us how you're feeling. And so instead of showing those comments, Sarah has begun to share some of them in her weekly newsletter, and you'll see more of those. But we looked at kind of branching them, taking a look at bucketing them together. And what your comments told us that were strengths of the organization. Helpful staff and support. And I want to give a special call out to Sarah and Dr. Nelly, who were frequently recognized as being very helpful in providing the support you need. As I mentioned earlier, our mission. People understand what it is we're trying to do. They agree with it, and they're happy to be part of it. Communication, which I mentioned, is always a positive and a negative, but overall, people feel like they're getting what they need from us. They're understanding why we're here and what we're doing. We're providing the right resources and a general training to help you get your job done and understand what it is you need to do. And then finally, we're providing flexibility so that you're able to work the hours that you need and come in when your schedule allows. We also had some comments about areas that we can improve. So as I mentioned earlier, communication shows up as a strength. It also shows up in an area that we can improve on. And again, I would say from doing surveys over 30 years, this is pretty common. We always see communication show up as a positive and a negative, but I think Sarah's weekly newsletter is starting to address some of that, and we're going to keep looking for ways that we can provide more communication. Lack of resources popped up, and when we looked into the comments, what we saw a lot of was the number of cats in the shelter. And I think that Sarah referenced that a little bit, that as we've made changes over the last 6 months, we definitely haven't had as many cats as we had in the past. We're working to address that and take care of that. We had some comments about staff not being friendly. And again, this is perception, but it's something that we want to make sure that we're improving and understanding where we can do that. We had some comments about being disorganized. And so Sarah mentioned taking a look at getting those protocols written, strengthening some of our policies and procedures. We'll be doing some things that Kate will be talking about that we can clarify some of those things and address this. And then the final point was people who felt like they didn't have enough training. And so again, this is an area that we'll be looking at in the coming year. We've already made some steps with our foster volunteers to make some improvements on that. And we'll be talking about ways that we can improve the overall training for the organization and get those numbers up a little bit next year. So surveys are really only as good as what you do with the results. As I said, we had some things that we were really pleased with. We also had some opportunities to improve. So I'm going to hand off to Kate to talk about what we're going to do as next steps.
Thanks, Julie. That was really great. So yeah, next steps. Sarah is going to continue to send those weekly emails, and they will continue to address the survey and talk about the findings. We're also going to develop and update training and involve volunteers. Some of you may have had the opportunity to attend our adoption specialist training last week, and there's another one of those coming up. There's also, we're developing med caregiver trainings, and we're just going to really deep dive into what that looks like and how we can build that out better. And then finally, we're going to schedule roundtable discussions. That'll involve Sarah and I and a board member, probably one of the ones who's sitting around the table here with me. And we are going to come into the shelter in the evening, during the day, in the mornings, occasionally on weekends, and really just have a chance to sit down with volunteers and talk about what came up in the survey. And so those dates will be announced going forward in the future. So stay tuned for those. That'll be open to everyone. And there will be a lot of different times to ensure that we're reaching the most number of folks. And if none of those dates work for you, reach out to Sarah or I, and we'll schedule some separate time to chat about this. Because at the end of the day, the volunteers, you all are in and out of this building so often that we couldn't do this work without you. So we want to make sure that we're really addressing what you need. And with that,
Thanks. All right. Thank you, Kate. This is Hillary again, and we did have a question from Mike in the chat. And I believe this is a Lisa question. What are we doing about the deficit?
Yeah, good question. And that's something that we've wrestled with a lot over the years that I've been on the board anyway, since the fall of 2019, when we really, I guess, started, when I became the treasurer. I'm not saying it wasn't wrestled with beforehand, but, and I think, well, one thing is that I, we've never really shown a balanced budget for one, but it always, somehow it always works out. And I don't want to have that Pollyanna uh, belief system, because that's really not a smart way to operate. And that was something that we really dove deep into last year, trying to look at how do we come up closer to a balanced budget. And Kate has really looked at this. And so we're strengthening our fundraising, and we're strengthening our donor development. I think the fact of the matter is, and this is true, I brought it up last year too. The number of cats that we adopt out is never going to be enough to balance the budget, partly because every cat, we operate on a deficit with every cat, basically. It just, the average last year, for 2022, I should say, was about $1,600 per cat, whereas we adopt them out at somewhere in the range, depending on age and so forth. I think it's like 180 up to maybe 250. So you can see there that, the thing that we feel more strongly about is getting the cats out there into their forever home versus making money off of adopting out the cats. So it's really going to be contingent on fundraising and donor development. And Kate is really hitting that hard and has done amazing things in the short time that she's been here. So we've already been seeing numbers that look much better for 2024 than they looked for 2023. So I hope that helps. Oh, and Kate has one thing to add to that.
yeah, and one of the things too, we continue to carry a deficit this year as well. But when we really think about what we're doing with that money, it's going directly to the core mission support that we need to, continue to build out vet services to make sure that we're really getting all of the specialty care that we need for the cats and getting all of the emergency care that we need for the cats. Feline Rescue, I think, has become known for the kind of cats that we take. And I think that, as we build out what that looks like going forward, the deficit will reduce itself naturally. The donors have really, as I said in my piece, the donors have really come through for us on both of our big campaigns surrounding, building out the infrastructure and the mission support. So I only expect that to get better and better as we continue building this.
Excellent. Thank you. Courtney has a question. This survey asked many questions that seem to only apply to shelter volunteers. Can a separate survey be sent to foster volunteers? Thanks.
Yeah, I will take that. We did talk about that after the survey, and I would like to send out a comprehensive survey to just fosters. Before we did that, I felt it was more important to kind of revamp the foster program, like I mentioned earlier. We have a lot of good ideas on how to improve the foster program, and I just wanted to get some of those pieces in place first, and then solicit feedback from fosters based on some of those changes, so we can get feedback from the new ideas that we have. So that will be coming hopefully in the next few months.
Does anybody else have a question? You're welcome to raise your hand or unmute yourself or drop a question in the chat. All right. Well then, let's see. All right. Susan asked, as a med caregiver and aide for vet services, I did feel the survey applied to me as well. And as a foster, I can see the specific questions that might be needed. Excellent. Thank you, Susan. All right. Shall we move ahead to Q&A with Kate?
Or just, I want to follow up real quick on that. Susan, are you saying that you'd like to maybe provide some ideas to Sarah? Is that what maybe you were thinking with that last bit, that you could see the specific questions that might be needed? But I guess let us know or contact Sarah.
Yeah, I think that we're very open.
If she needs my help, but no, it was just verifying the idea.
Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Susan. All right. Well then, let's move on to Q&A with Sarah. Does anybody, or with Kate, sorry. I am both undercaffeinated and wildly overcaffeinated this morning, so. Does anybody have a question for our still new executive director, Kate King?
Maybe feel free to unmute if you.
And you can always send me an email as well.
Yes, here, I will drop your email in the chat. Oop, don't do it that way. Oh, Kate, what brought you to Feline Rescue and what do you enjoy most about the organization? This is from Gina.
That's a good question. It's a very roundabout way that I got to Feline Rescue. I moved to the Twin Cities in 2012. I was a newly certified veterinary technician and worked at Larpenteur Animal Hospital, which many, many moons ago, 15-ish years ago, that was the veterinarian of choice for Feline Rescue, one of a few. And so that's how I first learned about Feline Rescue. Um, Initially moved here to go to veterinary school and changed my mind and became an art historian instead. That led me to nonprofits. So I worked in the nonprofit space here in the Twin Cities for about 10 years, primarily doing professional fundraising. And when I saw the executive director position open up, I had been talking about moving back into animal welfare for mental health. And well, here we are. And what do I love most about it? Every day is different. As a person who loves variety, I became a veterinary technician because every day was different. As someone who is neurodivergent, that different day is really exciting for me. So I love that I get to come in and work with cats. I love that some days we're doing emergency surgery. I love that some days there's kittens around. Everything is different. And so it's a really great opportunity. And I've said recently, it really is a dream job. And that's just it. It is.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. And thank you, Gina. All right. Our next question is from Tammy. Where are we at in our efforts to fill our vet department openings?
We currently have a post for the veterinary technician, and that has been up. So we've gotten some activity on it. We're going to have to look at what we can do to get that more, get some more activity on that. And then we are in the early stages of talking about what it looks like to bring in another veterinarian. If you've been in both of our buildings, you know that they are laid out a little oddly. And so we've got to figure out where we will put everyone once we get fully staffed. So those conversations have started.
Mention the dental.
Yes, and we did, as part of the previous Pfeiffer Perfect match, we were able to just get a new dental table, which will greatly help Dr. Nelly. And when I say just get the new dental table, it was in the room that we were in just yesterday. So yes, it's brand new and we're very excited.
All right, thank you, Tammy. Our next question is from Courtney. What is being done to address staff burnout and turnover?
Yep, so we've done quite a few things already. One of the big things that we changed at the end of last year, right after I started, we offered unlimited PTO, which this is a job that can be very draining. It's very different every day, as we said, but it's also very intense. And so giving unlimited PTO allows the staff to step away as needed, not have to worry about missing holidays or birthdays with family and friends. And we can really start to build back some of the mental health that comes with the burnout.
Not being abused.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just in general, like, really kind of working on some of the culture that we, had at Feline Rescue. We're trying to build something really special here. And I think everybody is really on board with that. So just in ensuring that, we're really strengthening that. And I know that Sarah has something regarding the culture coming up here.
Yeah, I am working on like a workplace culture agreement that will be I mean, it includes, it's not just staff, it's volunteers too, and it's about how we conduct ourselves within feline rescue and being respectful. And beyond that, something else that we discuss regularly within the staff is setting effective boundaries. And then, once we identify those, we're trying to listen to our coworkers and understand what their personal boundaries are and respecting those as well. Because that is something that is very important to all of us. It's very easy for us to just slip into turning that email on when you're at home. It becomes really hard to ignore. So we're all trying to just kind of identify what our boundaries need to be.
Good. There's a question on there about what are the t-shirts and merch going to be at Pride, I think is what that says, and I can't say.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is from Laura. And Laura, I am working on grabbing the link so you can check the things out, but perhaps Sarah can give a quick verbal description of some of the items.
Yeah, so we decided I just placed an order last week to just have a selection of the items we have so people can see them and compare sizing. And then we'll have probably like a QR code on a sign at Pride so that anybody who stops by and sees something they like can just scan that code and place an order online, and then it's shipped directly to your home.
Let me add that, excuse me, this is Elaine. Let me add that we are not holding merchandise on site. What you do is you go in to either with the QR code or through our website, there is a button for shop, and that will get you into the partner that we have worked with, who is actually producing and sending the items. And there are a bunch of the regular items as well as the ones that are specially done for Pride. So we're not going to have a stack of t-shirts at the booth or in the shelter. You would be ordering them directly from that vendor.
All right, we have a comment from Susan. As an aside, as a medical foster, I must say how much I appreciate the support I receive as a foster. I have friends and relatives who foster cats in other cities, and they don't get nearly the amount of support. Thank you, Vet Services and Feline Rescue. Thank you, Susan. That's lovely. All right. And then let's see. And Dr. Nelly said we are super excited about the new dental table. Yay! And Laura said, shout out to our amazing staff. Absolutely. And then let's see, Mary Lynn.
Sharon.
Oh, Sharon I'm sorry, Sharon asked, is there coordination with other shelters? And if so, of what nature is that interaction?
Sure, I can take that one. We do interact with other shelters. The primary ones I would say are St. Paul and Minneapolis Animal Control. We pull cats from both of their organizations. We also work with some shelters up north on the reservations. We get cats from them, maybe not weekly at this point, but at least every other week, I would say. And then kind of as needed, we get regular emails from other shelters and rescues if they need support. Those come in, probably close to every day, certainly every week. And when appropriate, we might pull cats from them. We've also, last year, we placed a bottle baby kitten with Bitty Kitty Brigade. It was a single kitten that we didn't have a foster for at the time. And so we do have interactions with some of the local shelters as well.
Thanks, Sarah. Let's see. We have a comment from Mary Lynn. It seems that 2024 may be a transitional year for the organization, addressing many new challenges in staffing, operations, and financing. I'm excited to see how this shows up in practice at Feline Rescue over the months to come. Oh, so are we, Mary Lynn. Thank you. And then another question from Susan. Does Feline Rescue raise any money from merch sales?
We do.
Yes, we do. That's one of the partner parts of the partnership we have with this particular vendor. For every item that is ordered and purchased, a percentage of that price comes back to Feline Rescue. So this is not just a one-way street. We also benefit from that relationship and have found quite a bit of success with that.
Does anybody else have a question or comment?
I think we're ready to close the meeting if we don't have any other comments that are coming in. As we said at the start, there will be a copy of this presentation that will be posted online. It will have the correct slides rather than the ones that we had to kind of maneuver around. So you would be able to go back and see that actual information. I also want to comment, this is Elaine again. I want to comment that we are all willing to hear feedback. We're all willing to talk to you. That is part of our commitment to improving communications. So please, we may not be the ones with the answers, but we certainly want to hear the questions and we'll hopefully get answers to you if we can't answer them ourselves. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for giving us this hour of your morning. And I think we are ready to sign off.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.